You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 6:30.
They're going to drive people into bankruptcy is what they're going to do.
Finished her sixth and final round of chemo and says her medical bills are astronomical. Good evening. I'm Mark Maxwell.
And I'm Renee Cooper. We told you Gail's story 2 weeks ago. Her first round of chemo was covered by her insurance. Then Blue Cross Blue Shield kicked her oncologist at Springfield Clinic out of network.
That's when her bills started to soar. Her next 2 rounds of chemo would total $46,000.
I mean, I have to have the chemo, so I've continued to do it, and I'll just, owe for the rest of my life, I guess.
That's when Target 3 started investigating the bottom line. We're digging in tonight to show you the impact of that contract dispute between an independent clinic of specialists and the state's largest health insurance companies, driving bills higher for people like Gail and creating stress and frustration for patients all across central Illinois.
Now, expecting mothers are also catching the brunt of it. Imagine being in your 3rd trimester, then losing the doctor you've trusted who's advised you, shared in those highs and lows of carrying a life for 6 months. On top of that stress, the chance of finding a new doctor in time is slim to none.
I can't get answers. I can't get through to somebody, feeling so frustrated.
That's Elizabeth Ferris Byerline, just one of tens of thousands of patients whose Springfield Clinic doctors haven't been covered by their health insurance since mid-November. At that point, Byerline was about 5 months pregnant.
I mean, I called I feel like 100 times a day.
Calls to her insurance provider, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Meanwhile, worries and the baby in her belly growing all the time.
What they said is they'll consider my provider an in-network provider until the end of May.
That's been officially approved, right? That's what your understanding of that confirmation is?
Right. Verbally, it's been approved.
But her doctor is still waiting to get that promised continuity of care in writing.
Every single time I go into an appointment at Springfield Clinic, I have to sign a form that says, we're still waiting for the continuity. However, if for some reason it doesn't come through, I am responsible for any of the accrued expenses.
She and her husband want the gender of their newest family member to be a surprise, not the bill.
I'm sure I'm probably close to $20,000 in for medical expenses. And it would probably be pretty crippling.
Blue Cross Blue Shield declined an interview, so we pressed them in an email. Will continuity of care protect pregnant mothers from paying higher costs than they would in network? Blue Cross tried to blame the uncertainty on Springfield Clinic, but ultimately acknowledged, quote, "We cannot guarantee that." Not far away, another mother, Amanda Lawler, has yet to see a bill either.
The way that medical bills are charged, there's no way I could pay out of pocket.
Those come after the delivery, and that's when continuity of care runs out and her search for a new OBGYN begins.
I've seen a lot of struggle, a lot of either people just saying, okay, well, I won't have a doctor, I'll run into prompt care when I need it.
As waiting rooms fill up at other providers, young moms are sharing similar stories.
I had other friends who weren't as far in their pregnancies who had to kind of look for providers at SIU. And their waiting list, I mean, they had all of these patients flood over to them.
If you can even get onto a waiting list.
And fearing higher out-of-pocket costs, Lawler has noticed fewer mothers walking into Springfield Clinic these days.
They were always busy, and now you see when I go in, the waiting rooms are so much less. I mean, I would say 20% of the people are there.
I think it just comes down to basic math, right?
Morgan Kaplan is a mother, not currently expecting, but she's putting off her annual checkup, hoping her clinic and health insurer resolve their dispute.
Springfield Clinic is probably one of the biggest clinics here in town, if not the biggest. And Blue Cross Blue Shield, I feel like everybody that works for a big company or something has that.
Now, to get a better idea of it for ourselves, we checked through the Blue Cross online directory of OBGYNs in the area for ourselves. Now, if you wanted to see an obstetrician in Springfield, you'd be waiting at least 2 months. If you prefer to see a female, that's up to 6 months of a wait.
That wait time isn't all. If you're in a hurry and had to see someone within 2 weeks, there'd also be that drive distance. You'd have to drive more than 30 miles to get to Jacksonville. When we come back, it's hard enough to find a doctor in network. Some we couldn't even find in office.
Pregnancy's a wild ride.
We heard from so many young and pregnant mothers struggling to get in to see an obstetrician. We went and started trying to find doctors ourselves.
We expected we might run into some delays, but we didn't expect this. Watch what happens when we followed Blue Cross Blue Shield's online directory to a dead end. When you log on to Blue Cross Blue Shield's online directory and go looking for an obstetrician in Springfield,
It's a rather time-sensitive condition.
one of the first names that appears is Dr. Eric Brown, but he was hard to track down. The first call to his office forwarded to another business. Then we went in person to this Springfield address, 2501 Chatham Road. We came here looking for Dr. Eric Brown. Instead, we find this different name on the door and no sign of him anywhere in Springfield. Finally, we found the right phone number for him. Trying to find Dr. Eric Brown. It says here on this insurance directory that he's at 2501 Chatham Road in Springfield.
No, I'm in Georgia. We're in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm not sure where that is.
Oh, it's Springfield, Illinois. The Blue Cross Blue Shield network has him listed at 2501 Chatham Road. Does he see patients in Illinois sometimes?
Not that I know of, no.
Interesting. Do you guys ever get calls like this?
Sometimes where people are looking for the doctor, and it's like, but we're in Georgia.
Okay. Do you know how long he's been there? I'm just curious if maybe he moved away. His whole life? And that was just the first page of this dead-end directory. When we called through the whole list,
He's accepting.
we found dozens of mistakes. Doctors who retired, some working in a different field, others gynecologists at Planned Parenthood who don't exactly deliver babies, and several who work at Springfield Clinic, no longer in the Blue Cross Blue Shield network. This inflated list of providers you can't really see is what industry insiders call a ghost network. And at the bottom of the page, this disclaimer: if you get treated from any doctor on this list and they're not in the network, Blue Cross Blue Shield won't pay for any uncovered charges.
Having a baby in America is not a finance-free choice. There's expenses every step of the way.
Here's a breakdown of that for you. The legal ratio that says Blue Cross Blue Shield has to offer at least 22 OBGYNs to every 55,000 patients. That's that red line right here. Now, Blue Cross advertises 59 OBGYNs within 30 miles of Springfield. Just 12 are taking patients, and none are available in the 10 days that the law requires. Now, at least 3 doctors we called, no one answered or no one knew who they were. And if you add Springfield Clinic back into the network, that number grows by 37 doctors.
That's right, and that's part of what we're looking into as well, the state law and those requirements. They include rules for insurance companies that say you have to have enough providers to see a pregnant mother within 10 days. That's an important thing. It's a time-sensitive issue. Since we started asking questions, the Illinois Department of Insurance has ordered Blue Cross Blue Shield to refile an updated network of providers that reflects that change with Springfield Clinic leaving the network.
Absolutely. More on that ahead.
That's why we think this is worth fighting for, because patients should have access to high-quality care in their backyard, and that's at stake right now.
And that's a vice president at Springfield Clinic explaining what's on the line in their contract standoff with Blue Cross.
The clinic says it wants to reach a deal. Blue Cross claims it does too, but as months drag on and bills pile up, the two sides remain deadlocked in a dispute over their bottom lines. How did we get here?
There was a plan called Blue Choice that was intended for patients through the Affordable Care Act on the online exchange.
When Blue Cross Blue Shield started steering Springfield Clinic patients onto a much cheaper insurance plan that paid its doctors less, the clinic canceled that contract. Then Blue Cross escalated the dispute, kicking Springfield Clinic and all 650 of its doctors out of network.
From the standpoint of the whole clinic, it's about 110,000 patients that have been affected.
Dr. Kenneth Sagans is Springfield Clinic's chief medical officer.
And as rates continue to get ratcheted down for these docs, we feel that it's less likely that they'll come to this area to practice. And that hurts us all.
Springfield Clinic serves as a unique hub in the region. Doctors at Memorial, St. John's, and SIU often refer their patients to specialists here. But now that they're out of network,
we're hearing from patients every day who aren't able to find someone else to provide that care. That's the part that's concerning for us.
And so then what? What do they do?
We know of a number of patients that have, we know of a lot of patients that have either foregone or are delaying care, hoping that something changes.
People should have access to, quality care and specialties, within their region.
Illinois House Majority Leader Greg Harris wrote the 2017 law to require insurance companies to provide customers with an adequate, transparent network of its providers.
Insurance company profits were the focus of their efforts, and it was leaving patients behind and leaving patients without care or leaving patients without access.
If it's really coming down to paying them, insurance companies make a lot of money. And there's a lot of people here in town that are is affected by losing Blue Cross Blue Shield with Springfield Clinic.
Here's the bottom line. Patients are losing access to affordable health care.
Now, state law spells out specific requirements insurance companies have to follow. When we come back, why lawmakers are looking to tighten those rules, make sure companies follow them.
The Department of Insurance should have plenty of power to regulate this law.
And he should know he wrote that law. So far, the Pritzker administration has done very little to enforce it.
At least not before we started asking questions. It wasn't until after we filed a flurry of FOIA requests the State Department of Insurance suddenly said it was looking into the changes Blue Cross made to its network.
The problem we were trying to address was not having standards in the state to be sure that there was adequate coverage and access for people who needed health care, particularly in specialties, that there were plans so that if insurance plans changed, people who had severe conditions or were undergoing treatments did not get disrupted. We wanted to be sure there was continuity of care, and we wanted to be sure that we were holding the insurance companies accountable for providing accurate, up-to-date information about who is in and out of network so that people can make the right choices of doctors and hospitals.
That state law requires insurance companies to provide an adequate network to its customers. And just like you wouldn't want your car dealer to strip your new car down for parts right after you bought it, the law says insurance companies can't dramatically reduce the network that they sell you. If they do, they have to report what's called a material change to the state within 15 days. Now, Blue Cross initially told us they didn't believe that kicking all these doctors out of Springfield Clinic constituted a material change. They've repeated that again. And after we started asking questions, the State Department of Insurance agreed with us that it was a material change and ordered the company to refile its network for review.
Well, a few medical emergencies are more urgent than cancer, but when we called through the Blue Cross directory, we only found 2 radiation oncologists who are actually taking patients. That's in Decatur. There are none in Springfield.
That's it for more than 60 miles in that radius, even though the Blue Cross website claims it has 10 doctors available.
We have much more of this investigative report up on our website right now, including a closer look at documents that show Blue Cross is driving medical bills higher for patients.
We showed you how this is affecting patients and their bottom line, but how is it impacting doctors and their practice?
They prefer no one to leave, but we're starting to hear that a little bit, unfortunately.
That's next. Springfield Clinic doctors kicked out of network are running out of patients with Blue Cross, and some of their waiting rooms are running low on patients who have Blue Cross.
Now, rural doctors have seen this play out before. They warn low rates could drive specialists out of business or out of town and deal a major blow to the capital city's collective health.
Who is your doctor?
Dr. Sagans.
Dr. Kenneth Sagans is what you would call a Springfield Clinic staple.
You're not feeling too well, I hear. What's going on? I mean, I've been seeing people 20, 25 years, and to sort of not be able to see them anymore and have them leave is a little bit troublesome.
He estimates a couple thousand patients are under his care.
How many are caught up in this dispute?
About, in my practice, 25%.
And when they need a specialist, Sagans says that's nearly impossible.
So having 6 to 8 month wait times now from the standpoint of any of your specialties is not uncommon. We've had that happen in the last week.
Now, how does that compare to prior to November?
Oh, yeah, it's no comparison. Before that, we could get people in within days or a week. It's almost overwhelming the system at this point. Say,
When you have a sick child, you have to get a hold of them.
Courtney Gray is a new mom. Her baby girl got sick right after Blue Cross kicked Dr. Sagans out of her insurance plan, and she tried to find a new doctor.
She got bad enough to where we just had to go to the ER because we couldn't get a hold of them, unfortunately.
not to sound old school or anything, but losing patients and not being able to see them after you've built up relationships for so many years is, on a personal level, extremely difficult, but I think also on a professional level is bad medicine.
Bad medicine and bad for business.
Those physicians in those rural communities have been driven out.
Small-town doctors retreated to Springfield Clinic to keep their practice open. They say Blue Cross squeezed their rates so low, they had to close their doors.
But there's a huge population of people outside of the big cities that need to be taken care of, and they don't want to travel 2 and 3 hours to get their care, nor should they have to.
Stick with us. We sum up the bottom line when we come back. This report was all about getting to the bottom line, and so we tried to work that through and line it up for you for, here's the bottom line for patients. When you go to see a doctor, you should be able to find one. You shouldn't have to drive too far, or you shouldn't have to wait to see one.
And you should be able to keep your doctor, that fundamental promise, especially when you're fighting to stay alive or to bring another life into this world. Those are the protections. Those are the promises enshrined in state law, if the state enforces it. More on that in our reporting to come. One note, Blue Cross Blue Shield said since our first report, they're going to look into those continuity of care claims to see if there are any refunds out there for people who were promised it and just didn't get it.
Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night.